Opioid addiction in Mississippi. What is an opioid? Opioids are narcotics that act on opioid receptors to produce morphine-like effects. The most common opioids are painkillers, such as morphine, hydrocodone, oxycodone, and some of the most popular drugs, brand names, are Oxycontin, Percocets, and Vicodin. Most Americans in Mississippi do not even realize what an opioid is and what it does, which means that they do not even recognize when they have a problem with opioids. Prescription drug abuse is taking any medication prescribed for someone else, or taking a higher dosage of drugs, or taking a drug in a manner that has not been prescribed. Most opioid deaths in Mississippi are accidental, caused by prescription drugs such as opioids. Healthcare providers started to prescribe patients opioid pain relievers in the late 1990s. Pharmaceutical companies promised the healthcare community that patients would not become addicted to these opioids. As we know now, that was a lie. Opioid addiction has led to a widespread epidemic in America because of the misuse of medication because of the misuse of medication. As opioids overdose rates began to increase, it became clear that they were highly addictive. In 2015, more than 33,000 Americans died as a result of an opioid overdose, including prescription opioids, heroin, and synthetic opioid drugs. These numbers are alarming and are increasing nationally without any signs of decreasing in the near future. The state of Mississippi ranks number 4 in the nation of opioid prescription overdose per capita. Nearly half of all opioid overdose deaths involve prescription opioids. The rate of opioid deaths involving opioids have doubled since 2000. In southern states, including Mississippi, has the most prescription per person for opioid painkillers. In 2016, opioid overdoses killed more than 2,011 Mississippians, which was more than the national average of 115 Americans. Is anyone safe from developing an addiction to opioids? The truth is no. If you are taking an opioid, you are at risk of becoming addicted. I want to study the triggers of opioids, the point when the brain feels the good transmitters, when the endorphins tells your brain what pain is and what pleasure is, and the temporary but powerful sense of well-being. Then what happens when you come down off of that high and opioids wear off? Some people find themselves wanting that feeling back, that feel-good feeling. I will begin this study by visiting 2 alcohol drug addiction facilities to speak with opioid users. I will ask questions such as, at what point in your life were you introduced to opioids? How long have you been addicted to opioids? Have you ever used someone else's prescription opioid medication? Have you ever taken opioids to self-medicate? Have you ever searched for doctors to get more opioids? Does drug addiction run in your family? Next, I would visit 2 local hospitals to speak with doctors who prescribe these opioids to find out how doctors determine which patients really do have medical needs versus those who do not. How many opioids are they prescribing daily? This can be tricky because some doctors are more experienced than others in determining who needs opioids. By conducting this research, I hope to understand how opioids are triggered in Mississippians and how we can improve as a state. Once someone has developed an addiction, sometimes it's hard to stop. We have to understand no one is safe. Opioid is a drug that is holding on to our families and our loved ones in the communities in Mississippi. It's time to change. It's time to change, and we are not enforcing the limits of prescribing opioid drugs across the country. By limiting the amount of opioids being prescribed and changing the practice of overprescribing opioids will put a stop to the epidemic.